Sup, my name is Ryu for the Yugioh Council. Welcome to Theorio. The video that was not supposed to come out, but it is coming out because I have ideas. So here we go. This is your Monday morning discussion video, so get ready for your brain juice to be infected by Ryu's syndrome, whatever. I'm terrible at intros apparently, so let's just get this underway. Competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! It's important, even for casuals. Now, you may just completely disagree with me, but I really highly advise listening to the video and everything I have to say prior to just disliking and leaving. Trust me, you will learn something today. I'm going to be completely honest here. Some people absolutely hate meta. I get why. Please, I understand. It is boring to play against. It is like watching paint dry because there is a skill gap from where you are to where they are. But there is an accomplishment of feeling that you get when you beat someone to that level. When they're playing that high, expensive deck and you're playing your little $20 deck and you crush them. The feeling you get, the excitement, the enjoyment. But there is a lesson to be learned from it. You cannot sharpen your skills or become better at the game without competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole, the reason competitive matters is because it puts eyeballs onto the product. If it wasn't for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!, this game would have died long ago. And I'm going to make a prime example of this. Anyone remember a game called Duel Masters? Part of the reason why the game fell apart, besides marketing, was also because the competitive scene died, and it died hard. The problem is, regardless of the turnout of what we see at YCS and how some YouTubers want to overanalyze the aspects of how many people are watching, the main thing is the people that go. The main thing is the interest in the discussions that still to follow. They are some of the most basically sought out after Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos on YouTube in the algorithm. They are some of the most watched is when you talk about the meta. That's not why I'm making this video. Competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just like Overwatch competitive. Let's put it that way. You may not want to take part in it. You may think it's just toxic. But overall, it brings more attention and more people interested into the game. Because when you have the highest level of skill competing at each other, it makes the game look so much better than it already does. And then you have all the layers underneath that build basically a giant tower of Yu-Gi-Oh! In short, what I'm getting at is simple. Competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Brings new people into the old Yu-Gi-Oh! And we shouldn't be afraid of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And I know some people can say, oh my god, that's so broken. How do you get down to the middle ground? That's where you find the competitive casual. That's something I've been trying to get across for 4 years, but didn't make sense until I started talking about Overwatch competitive on my other channel, RyuAvalonGaming. And it seems weird to, I know I keep saying Overwatch, but it makes sense to actually just use the same phrases and everything that define the meta for Yu-Gi-Oh! And define the meta for that game. The similarities are just the same. It's like night and day. They're pretty much the same thing, just in two different forms. So what I'm going to put it into a whole video here is the following. Competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!, whether you like it or not, is very crucial and very important. The game should not just be revolving around the little issues. It needs to revolve around the whole issue. And when I say this, the competitive will always take priority one because they make it the game more exciting for a lot of people. You may not be one of those people. You may just be the guy who shows up at locals and just wants to buy stuff to buy stuff. It's cool. You're in my team. When I say you're in my team, you don't have to be on this team's channel or agree with some stuff I say. Basically, you're in competitive, casual, or just casual. There's nothing wrong with that. I've said it before. I've always made the, drawn the line between casual and competitive. Today, we close that. When you look at someone top and you see why they top, there's something you can learn from them. There's an aspect to the game that they understand that you may not quite yet. There is something that you basically you sit there and you go, this is the same thing we've seen 20 times topping. But you know why? Because it has proven itself and it continues to prove itself. And what you can learn from it is how to defeat that and how to take your game to the next level. Siding is one of the most important aspects of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that whole aspect would have been thrown out the window 15 years ago, 20 years ago, if it wasn't for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Because without competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!, the side decking, the guide to your side series, all that foundation would be nothing. It would be trash. It would be wasted time that no one would ever put effort into. But because we have the competitive scene, even though there is foundation that should be built upon to further it, and even though the price support can be mediocre, the fact of the matter is it's still a lot better structurally than a lot of other games out there. Yes, it can improve. Yes, it should be like Magic the Gathering with prizes that are more financially stable to basically equal out what a pro level player would make, but the whole thing is you also have to look at the market of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a lot smaller than these other games I am referring to. So, back to the point. I know I just talked about siding, but what about main decking? It also basically, it takes off some of the creativity of Yu-Gi-Oh! That's always going to be something because it's the human mindset. You want to approach it the best to get the best results. Let me ask you guys something. Are you going to sit here and basically just say, okay, I'm going to skip grades 2, 4, and 8 because I don't like those numbers, right? Just stay with me here. I don't like those numbers, and I don't feel they're crucial. You're going to lose out on a lot of things. It's like losing time out in your life. And I know a lot of you don't take Yu-Gi-Oh! To that level. You never should. The point is, we're a YouTube channel. You know, it's kind of what we do to bring the measure of the discussion to the table, just so we're clear here. So, let's talk about secondary market. Secondary market prices are a good thing and a bad thing. They're good if you know how to work it for yourself. It's bad if you don't. It's bad if you just take negativity away from it. But competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Helps create the price spikes. And when there is a demand for a card, it's because a lot of the times it's because it's always the competitive stuff. Hardly ever outside of legacy support like Red Eyes do you ever see a card going for that much money that quickly. A lot of the times it's the stuff that you will always see in the competitive aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! And not the casual aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! But again, there are circumstances that may change that. Back to the point. When you look at competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of this, you can build a career from it. You can become a vendor on eBay, making a healthy living, paying your way through college, whatever it may be. Life is what you make of it, just like Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitiveness is needed because it's healthy. It allows you to focus at your best. You could say, I was at my best for playing this way. When you talk about the ban list, a lot of the times, I probably want to hit just everything that the player base hits. Because I see what you guys are talking about, and I feel for you guys. I want everyone to be happy. That's just kind of my thing. Even though it's near impossible to do, number one, it's just the kind of person I am. I know sometimes I probably could be a little arrogant in certain ways and whatnot. I admit my faults, and I do have a little ego once in a while, but again, at the end of the day, I can admit that. Fact of the matter is, I want everyone to enjoy this game the way I do. You know, to that level where you could just wake up, take a hit of coffee, drink a coffee, and just want to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And, you know, make something out of it. To have that, you know, to have that ambition behind you. And I don't think we're quite there yet for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! To really be seen, hello Gecko, to be seen as a pro level, you know, I can live off of this. But because of things like eBay and now YouTube, we're given platforms that if it wasn't for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! There would be a 50-50 cut where I wouldn't have half the subscribers I do now because, I'll be honest, prior to me talking about meta decks, the channel wasn't growing nearly as much. Yes, Blue Eyes was a great foundation for when it officially launched about a year and a half ago, 2 years? Somewhere about 2 years ago. You know, when we got the structure deck. That was a great kickoff point. But because I was so open and making coffee time videos, because I was so okay with experimenting and I, you know, thrived in talking about my ideals at Yu-Gi-Oh! And whatnot, and things I think about it, and not being worried about backlash of hate or whatnot, just like this video, I think that's what really drives it home. There's a lot to be said that could be negative about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! But you should pay more attention to it if you don't. I'm not saying sit there and pay attention to the entire 6 months. What I'm saying is pay attention to the changes. See what happens, because you may be able to make some money for yourself. That's also something else. You know, have these opportunities. We're all given the same opportunity. You just need to make what you can make off of it. That's just how it is. But hopefully this video was enlightening and you guys enjoyed it regardless, because 3 videos today. It's insane. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you tonight for coffee time, which is kind of like the other half to this video. You'll see what I mean. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you then. Peace.